I'm going to attempt to be the first person to actually break down where I think the sports card market is headed in terms of growth and market size. Using actual adult math and not talking points for social media. I was a management consultant for Fortune 500 CEOs for over 2 decades, and I ran this type of market sizing analysis all the time. So let's dive in. There are numerous well-funded market research companies that study a particular industry and do their best to predict the growth rates and projections based on thousands of hours of research. They then sell this information. If they weren't good at it, they would go out of business pretty quickly. I used a few go-to sources for my analysis. I added a few upstart companies as well to make sure I got an accurate picture of the industry. The estimates ranged from a growth rate of 7.8% to 13.3%, which is actually very strong and better than the S&P 500. All right, we've got the growth rate of 10.5%. We know the industry size in 2023 was $12 billion. This includes every aspect of sports cards, from production to grading to card shows. Now with this information, we can actually predict with some accuracy what the market size will be in 2031. Now a quick future value calculation. We use 8 periods for the 8 years. We have our interest rate, so we hit calculate, and the market size in 2031 will be $27 billion. So will we 10x the hobby by 2031? Definitely not. Though we will more than double it by 2031, and this is an exceptional amount of growth for such an old industry. Where will this growth come from? Based on my analysis, it will be from 2 key areas. 1. Expanding the base and bringing new customers into the hobby, like kids or adults whose interest has lapsed over the years. 2. It will come from international expansion and growth. How can you use this information to your advantage? In the United States, we live in sort of a sports bubble and focus on 4, possibly 5, major sports. Worldwide, however, there is great interest in other sports like tennis, F1 racing, and obviously soccer. Make sure you diversify your collection if this 8-year timeline fits into how you collect. It may be worth thinking beyond sports and consider high-growth international assets like Pokemon. This also supports the first point that the base will expand, and we all know kids can be very passionate about trading card games.
All right, I got some deep thoughts here. So we all talk about this 10xing the hobby, right? Like we hear about it from everybody. We hear about it from Fanatics. We're going to 10x the hobby, 10x the hobby. But they don't actually give you a timeline. They never say we're going to 10x this by next year. We're going to 10x this in 50 years. And I worry that this 10xing the hobby, everybody that gets into it thinks like, oh, well, I could just buy a card and it's going to 10x. That's not what's going to happen. The hobby is not going to magically 10x in the near term. This is a very, very easy analysis I did. And to be honest, it shows that it will double, and that is incredible. It's going to outpace the stock market, which is fantastic if you think of it as an investment, but it's not going to 10x. It's just not. That's not going to happen. Now, if you include the world beyond sports cards and trading card games and memorabilia and jerseys, I don't know. I didn't run that analysis, but for sports cards in particular, it will not happen, but it will double. And just be careful. Think of the pockets of growth that are going to exist. If it's going to double, where's that going to come from? Will all of a sudden kids age 6 to 10 double in population? Nope, that's not going to happen. We know that. So it's going to come internationally, and it's going to come from people like me who lapsed for 15 years and came back in 2019, 2018, give or take. You need more of that, right? You need more people that are not in the hobby now to come back in, and you need to go wider and wider and start getting the international collectors into some American sports or into more cards of existing sports that they're into, like soccer and F1 and tennis and who knows what, right? Rugby, for example, could be anything. So be careful with this 10x cheerleader stuff. It's not real. The numbers aren't real. Michael Rubin has not sat down and said, we are going to 10x it by this year. He hasn't done that. I just did that in a very rudimentary way. And I really hope it helps inform you guys, helps you make rational decisions, and helps you get educated about what's really happening in this hobby. Remember, it's a hobby. Some of us make money, some of us collect. At the end of the day, it's a hobby. Treat it that way. Don't expect it like this lottery ticket that's gonna 10x, okay? Any questions on this video or how I ran the analysis, or if you want to see my sources, I'm happy to share. It's all public information. And as always, please subscribe. I'll keep random videos like this coming for everybody.